What's up, guys? I'm Joyous, the assistant coach of Rossmann Centaurs, and now that we know all the rosters in the Division 1 Prime League, I want to give you my opinion on each of the teams. And yeah, let's get right into it. The first team is Eintracht Frankfurt on my list, and this team was pretty bad in the recent splits, I would say. But now that they made the roster changes with Zanzara, we all know Zanzara. He is literally the GOAT, and you can see it really in the gameplay. They were playing much more slow, much more reserved, much more controlled, much more objective focused, and even though they only played against Spandau, I think they really showed what they can do because they gave them no chance to fight back really. And I think Zanzara's specialty is of course shot calling, right? And the objective setups. He really likes those champions like the tanks like Maokai Skana, which he played, or Seju and stuff. And I think those champions are really good at slowing the pace down in the game and making the game as slow and as controlled as possible with an easy composition. And if they manage to keep getting drafts like this, I can see them winning a lot of games in the Prime League. And not that I'm saying that these drafts are invulnerable or anything, but yeah, I think they just showed a really strong performance in those games. Where I see the weakness though is when they need to play from behind, because then they would need to play a lot of on side lanes, and then I'm not sure if those tanky junglers can really do a lot or are really like good at it, and especially if they lose the front to back, like against teams like Kaufland or Big or anything, or I mean many other teams who would play maybe a stronger front to back team comp that they do. I think they will have a hard time trying to get back into the game, because I'm not sure how good Zanzara is on stuff like Vi, Nocturne, attacking side lanes, stuff like that. So yeah, I would put Frankfurt actually in B tier. The next team on my list is Eintracht Spandau. I think they are a very creative team. And even though they lost pretty harsh against Eintracht Frankfurt, I think the roster changes that they have made make them stronger actually, because I think that Santorin is a little bit better in setuping Power of Evil or Pride to carry the game, whereas Joker was more like another carry in the game. He couldn't really, or he's not that well at setting up the other players. So I think Santorin will do a little bit of a better job there. But when I looked at the first games, I feel like they were a little bit shy to start, because in this game, for example, they had like 3 prio lanes on every single lane, and Santorin was not really like doing something crazy, invading or getting any leads out of it. So I think they should, like, if they get more courage, if they get more comfortable, I think they're going to be a great team. And they also have this little X factor, right? Power of Evil picking some weird shit like Kog'Maw. He was crazy actually on it if you watched the game. Lilith picking something like the Nico, like the Bard. I think in the Bard game against Frankfurt, I actually wanted to show it. Everyone of Eins was already dead or not able to contest, and he was actually able to steal the Atakan with Unsealed Spellbook Smite, which was a crazy play. But plays like this really make this team a little bit like harder to prep against, or just a little bit, harder to predict. So I wouldn't like rate them out completely, but I would still say they are not quite on the level as other teams in my eyes. Then we have CGN. CGN is now, I'm going to rate the version without Argorin. I'm not really sure when he comes back, so I'm going to rate the version with Kirei now in the jungle. And yeah, CGN without Argorin is a completely different team in my eyes, because Argorin was the main shot caller, he was the coach at the same time, he was doing the pre-draft meetings if you've looked at the streams, he is perma-calling, and the other team members are not really very vocal, like Reptile, Sendo, Phantasm are not really vocal players, in my eyes at least, or from what I've seen. And it's really hard to get someone that can fill in the shoes or do something similar to Argorin. I think there's not even a single jungler in the Division 1 Prime League who like not make the team good, but would fit in the same shoes as Argorin, because he's very specific and he is like very demanding in what he wants to do. And I think it fit the team really well. But we've already seen the performances. Against TOG, for example, they lost. They looked really shaky. They looked really inconsistent. And yeah, that's why I'm not really a big fan of CGN this split. And I would actually probably rate them in D tier. I think Spandau is going to beat them, for example. The next team is TOG. I think TOG is a great team, especially in the early game. You can see it already in the stats that this team, in the entirety of 2025, they had a really good time in the early game, and they are really good at laning and getting advantages in the early game, and also finishing it from those advantages. But I feel like we as Rossmann Centaurs played a lot against them recently, right? And we managed to beat them. I feel like if they're not getting ahead, they have a really, really hard time getting back into the game. I think they need to learn a lot, or like look at their games a lot more when they are behind. And that's why I would actually rate TOG in B tier as well. I don't think they're going to be as good in the regular season as last split, even though they tend to have a good regular season and not good playoffs. I don't think they will make playoffs for sure, actually. I'm not that sure about it. Then the next team is Evi. I think Evi is a really special team. I think it's really cool to watch them play. They really play their own kind of game. They have special picks in drafts. They pick stuff like the Kindred, the Belveth, the Viego from Afro Boy. Rocklu's champion pool, of course, with Set is something that is like really, really special for them. But they did not really have a good start into this split and also into the last split. The ending was also not the best. But I still believe in them, because the thing is with Evi, they kind of have their own meta, while everyone else is kind of copying a bit from the MSI and doing a little bit from the pro play, which they can see, and it's quite obvious to like follow what everyone else is doing, which is what most teams do. But they actually need to take it one step further and not follow what everyone is doing, but look at their own champion pool and then adapt to the meta and then counter the meta, basically. And for that, like, this is like a little bit harder to do than just following. And that's why I think they are having a rough start right now, but I'm pretty sure they will wrap up for sure the split. And yeah, from their gameplay, I think they play a lot of grouping styles, a lot of team fighting styles, and they play simple League, which I appreciate a lot. It's a lot about fighting. This is why they are so fun to watch as well. Yeah, but I'm not so sure about their performance. And also something that you should not overlook is their team bond, because I think, like, just from the outside perspective, they have a really strong team bond, and even if they lose, they always come back strong. So I think this is also one aspect that we should not underrate Evi with. So I would actually put them in B tier. Now the next team is Unicorns of Love. They were a team that everyone believed to be like a super team, a crazy team. Sheepy is coaching it. It has to be so good. And for some reason, they completely failed the expectations. I also don't really know why, but in the last split, they really ramped up over the last few games. And I think they are actually individually really strong from the beginning with. And now that they are starting to play as a team, I think they're going to be a great team for next. And they are going to, for sure, make up for the expectations that they have on them. And for their gameplay, I think they play really standard macro. We played a bit against them also in scrims, and they play really standard. They're going to do what you expect them to do, but they're actually really good at it. And they're also not really like, they don't only team fight or only play side lane, only play this comp, only play that comp. They can play a lot of different comps. Like, they can play front to back with Azir, simply is like a big Azir player, right? They can play Vi Ari, they can play Nocturne. So I think, or even Ivan. And I think that's why they are so also hard to prepare against. And now that they are gaining a little bit more, macro as a team, I think they're going to be actually A tier and maybe even contender to win again. The next team is Austrian Force Wilhaben. I'm really skeptical about this team because in recent history, I mean, everybody knows it. It's like the first team that has been beaten twice, I think. even 4 times, 3 times against TOG Academy and 1 time against Stuttgart recently in the Road to LEC finals tournament. And yeah, I'm really skeptical about this team. Even though they had a great performance against Evi, they are still like a team that has a lot of new players. They have like completely changed their roster to Swit to top lane. I don't even know this player, to be honest. I don't think he has a big professional record, but he's challenger in solo queue, so I mean that's for sure something. Dennis was the jungler from TOG Academy before. Kenal is actually someone with a lot of experience. He played in like a lot of good Spanish teams. And then Ali is also someone who has a lot of experience under his belt. So the bot lane will be more experienced for sure. So I think that they have a little bit more experience and they might be better than last split, but it's a big flip for me. So I'm not really sure where to put them because they're like really random. It's extremely hard to put them in, but I don't think they're going to be like a better than the teams in B. I think they're probably going to be more like a C team with inconsistent games. They even managed to beat Big last split, right? Even though they had a completely different roster besides Nano. But yeah, I will put them in C tier. Now let's talk about Big. Obviously the big favorites of the tournament. When looking at the current form of CGN, I think it's not a really crazy take to say that they are going to probably like be at least favorites in the tournament. So I think that, I mean, Big has to be S tier for sure. And they just have a really experienced roster. They actually had a decent MSI run, even though they did not manage to get out of the groups. I think they had a really hard group against BK Rock and Lost Heretics. So I wouldn't like say that they played or performed extremely bad at the EMEA Masters as well. And the thing that they are the best at is consistency in my eyes. They have the most consistent early games. They have the most consistent mid game. They have the most consistent objective setups. So I think Big is going to be still the number one challenge to beat. They even won the Road to LEC finals last week, right? So I think, I mean, Big, of course, is going to be S tier, but I don't think they are invulnerable at all. They lost a lot of games actually last split, like a lot of 2-1s against Spandau, for example. They lost to Austrian Force. They had 2-1 against us at Rossmann. So I don't think they're like invulnerable at all. They even lost to CGN the finals, right? Obviously. So yeah, I think on a bad day, I think a lot of teams can actually beat them. Like from B tier above, I think every team has the possibility to beat Big. So as for Kaufland Hangry Knights, I think they are for sure one of the strongest teams right now in the entire league. I think their mid lane jungle, Rebel and Random, are really good at working together with each other. I think they are a great team and they can play almost every style again. They can play like front to back, Asia, Skana, drafts. They can play like Nocturne, Vi, everything in that regard. So I think they are like a really, really versatile team. We played against them last split and we lost 3-2, right? And I think they are really hard to prepare against, as I said. And yeah, I think they have for sure the capabilities of being like contender of actually the first place. I would actually put them in S tier now that I think about it. I wanted to put them in A tier first, but now that I think about it, I think they can for sure beat Big. They can for sure win the league in my eyes. And yeah, I think they're better than probably almost every team we else have. One weakness that I would say though about Kaufland is that they are not really like sometimes, even though they have a lead, the lead might slip out of their hand. They have like sloppy objective setups. That's when like something weird happens, a flip, a steal, something like that. And that's why I think they are not the best team from ahead, but they still manage to get leads in the early game really, really consistently. And they also have really good laners in my eyes. That's why, yeah, Hangry Knights, Kaufland is at S tier. Now, obviously, I'm the assistant coach of Rossmann, so I'm going to be biased here, of course. But I'm not only going to be biased because I'm going to give you the reasons why it's actually valid to put Rossmann right now as it is in the S tier. And that is, with the new changes of Funky and Adusto coming into the team, the tier atmosphere has changed completely, like within the team. And I think we are like improving on a day-to-day basis, working together. And the loss we had in the finals of Road to LEC against Big, where we lost 2-1, was actually, in my eyes, very winnable, even though we only had 1 week of scrims so far. And I think because of the fact that we have such a good atmosphere, we're so good, like we are improving at such a fast rate, I think we are at a decent, like I would put us right now at A tier, but if we improve just a little bit, like as we are right now improving, I think we are going to beat Hangry Knights and Big for sure. And I think we have a decent chance at winning the entire league. All right, that was it with my tier list. I'm quite satisfied with it. If you think I did your team wrong and you want to call me out for some bullshit, then do so. I appreciate it. I will try to reply to every single comment that is out there, and will of course try to make new content in the future. I hope you liked the list, and goodbye. See ya.